New on Daybreak, I've mentioned a fair amount of times how I love to play pickleball in Rochester. You can see me getting in on the action here as well. In fact, I'm not alone. The amount of people rallying around the game is skyrocketing. The Rochester Area Pickleball Association says membership has grown over 460% in 5 years. But as the amount of people playing grows, that's also making it more difficult for everyone to be included. That sound of paddle hitting ball is one pickleball players know all too well. And it's a sound that has become a lot more noticeable in Rochester in the last 5 or so years.
The sport has grown in Rochester, and I think it's sort of elusive what's going on across the whole country.
Nancy McCoy is the vice president of the Rochester Area Pickleball Association, or RAPA.
We had about 300 members before COVID, and right around that time period, it just started to really blow up.
Now she says, as of the end of April, RAPA has over 1,000 members.
I think it's become so popular because it has what I would call a low barrier to entry, is one reason. It's a sport where you can get out, and you may not be the best player out there, but you're not going to be horrible for very long.
McCoy started playing herself when she moved to Rochester 3 years ago.
Pickleball is just so much fun. Keeps you busy, keeps you running, and keeps you moving, and you can play for a lot of hours.
From exercise to socializing, there are a lot of reasons people enjoy the game.
I think the best thing is anybody can pick it up. You don't really have to have any type of paddle or racket background in order to play. The game sets up for everybody.
I think it's one of those sports where if you just want to go and play and never have had that experience before, you can do that and it's enjoyable.
I just love it. You meet so many great people. It's so much fun, and people, you can be competitive or you can just play for fun.
McCoy says there's also been a noticeable shift with the amount of younger people who are starting to play.
We recently did a survey of our membership, and we're finding that our membership age is decreasing. That's telling us there's a lot of younger people getting involved, a lot of kids getting involved.
Take the Rice family, for example. They started playing about a year ago.
It's mixed between ping pong and tennis, but it's not like as hard as tennis, but you move around more than ping pong, so it's just like perfect for me.
It's an easier game that I can kind of keep up with the boys.
I like to watch myself improve and get better. That's fun for me. And the physical exercise, that's really nice.
I love the way that you can really have a sense of community.
19-year-old Kia Hubert has been playing for around 3 years. She's excited to see more people her age take up the game.
I know it used to be really a lot of older people were getting into it, but now there's definitely some younger people getting into it, which is really nice change.
10-5-1.
But as the game continues to grow and more people pick it up, the amount of courts available becomes a concern. Right now, there are 6 dedicated outdoor pickleball courts at Cook Park and 5 at the Eagles Club. But players I spoke with say that's not enough.
Rochester definitely is in desperate need of more courts. Rochester is probably one of the lowest per capita amount of people versus how many courts we have.
Usually on a Monday morning here, the whole paddle saddle is full, so as many people are playing as are waiting, and so we definitely need more courts in the area.
Ben Bolt with the City of Rochester Parks and Recreation Department agrees.
We know we're not meeting all the needs out there.
But now Bolt says there are plans to add 2 new courts at Slattery Park.
It will likely be later this summer, but it's planned to happen during this construction season. I think they should be ready to go later this summer.
And some more good news for players, as he says the planned regional sports and recreation complex could have both indoor and outdoor courts.
The courts we can are planning to add at the regional sports and recreation complex will be a larger number of courts there, so that can hopefully meet some additional needs and desires out there.
Moving forward, he says the city will do its best to keep up with the demand as more players get involved in the game.
We've certainly heard from the community and understand that there is a need for more court space, so we're working as we can and as budgets and planning allows for us to add some additional space.
For now, players will work with what they have. They encourage everyone to give pickleball a try, regardless of skill level.
I would say it's a lot easier than it looks, and you really do improve pretty quickly, so there's really no fear of failure.
A lot of times you can go out and you can find somebody to play with, and they'll teach you the game. People tend to be really nice.
Most people I've met are really willing to help, so don't be afraid to ask somebody for suggestions or help. Watch good pickleball players play. Practice, drill whenever possible.
Because, as they say, practice makes perfect. So I spoke with some experts from the University of Minnesota and the DNR about what anglers can prepare for this season.
I think we can expect pretty good fishing, especially for our walleye and sauger.
That is certainly the hope, and while catching fish is never any guarantee, Nick Schlesser with the Minnesota DNR says heading into this year's fishing season, there's even more uncertainty.
That's unusual. We haven't really gone through this system or situation before.
This winter was pretty unprecedented in terms of how short it was, how mild it was, the lack of snow.
Gretchen Hansen is an assistant professor of fisheries ecology at the University of Minnesota. She studies how climate change affects lakes and fish.
It can be hard to predict the responses of ecosystems to conditions we've never seen before, but we can use information we have on how winter conditions affect fish.
That's where Dr. William Herb comes in. He's a research associate at the University of Minnesota St. Anthony Falls Lab.
I've done some work on how climate change affects habitat for cold water fish like trout.
He highlighted the potential impact of the early ice out to the trout population, which normally prefer cooler water.
So that can stress the trout. Maybe they won't grow as well. Maybe they won't reproduce as well.
Schlesser also mentions how gizzard shad, which typically die in the winter, may now have survived.
If the gizzard shad survive, it's very possible that the walleyes, especially the larger ones, are still going to be eating larger bait fish than what the anglers are anticipating. So larger baits might be more beneficial to anglers.
What would your advice be for anglers as we're kind of starting to navigate the unusual winter heading into spring here then?
Be willing to try things that you might not have expected. You might be a little bit farther along in the progression than what you expect based on the time of the year.
While this winter may seem like a one-off, Dr. Herb points out data from the Minnesota DNR that shows ice cover periods on Minnesota lakes are getting shorter.
In my mind, that trend is more worrisome than just having one warm winter. It's, if we start having repeated warm winters, I think that's going to be tough on the fish population.
Which could leave the art of catching even more up to chance.